Okay. Keyword disgraced. Disgraced. Keyword disgrace. That's a word that is definitely something that, you know, it's noteworthy. It's very noteworthy because the word disgraced means somebody that was, once looked at in a certain kind of way in a positive light as some kind of example, and then they fall from that grace and they are seen as the scum of the earth. And that is basically what disgraced means, falling from grace. And so, so they say that he's on suicide watch now. And I was thinking to myself, I was asking Jehovah, like, what is that, a cop out? Because suicide watch, basically, you're going to be watched more than usual, or you're going to have a lot of attendants to watch you. And, really, really like, I mean, is this a way for him to protect himself? Because he's in a very, very bad detention center, a very bad prison. They're describing the prison as being one of the worst. And it's crazy to me because it's like you go from being a billionaire and flaunting this lavish lifestyle that I feel like if you work for it and if it's clean money and if you worked for it and you really, really was honest and you didn't abuse anybody along the way and you really just did the work to get where you are, by all means, enjoy your life, live your life. But the man, organizational crime, dirty money. That's his whole legacy. Dirty money. And the things he's done, the people he's hurt, the murders he's committed, that it hasn't even come to the forefront. You know what I'm saying? The conspiracies and the murders that he's had a hand in, killing our legends, hip hop legends. I really honestly, in my whole heart, believe that he killed Biggie. And, he definitely had a hand in Pac. And I feel like other people had a hand in Pac as well. You know what I'm saying? These people are ruthless. And these people think that they're so egotistical because of riches, because the money they have. They've been able to, get in cahoots with the government. And there have been, corrupt government officials and also local officials that will do work for them. They'll do things to people and they'll get away with it. And they feel like, oh, well, I got away with it for 10, 20 years. No one's going to catch up to me. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. When you play with people's lives and when you, for no reason, want to be a tyrant and you want to be corrupt and you basically have this God complex, like you really are God and can't get caught, these are the things that happen. You know what I'm saying? I feel like this is not even like regular. I really genuinely believe like, okay, this is Jehovah for sure, because there's no possible way he has all that money and he wasn't able to corrupt not one judge. That's how you know Jehovah's involved, because when Jehovah is involved, there is no corruption. Justice will be served. He was denied bond twice. He was denied bail twice. And out of all the prisons they could have sent him to, they didn't send him to one that was like, maximum security. They sent him to a prison that I'm reading has such a high suicide and death rate, where I was listening to the warden, one of the wardens in the jail, saying that people put cell phones up their rectums and people create, weapons in jail. They do that, but they have a very high incidence of assault in that prison. It's just eerie, and now breaking news. I literally was asleep. I woke up and I looked at my phone and I saw this reporter that I commonly see when, celebrity news and stuff like that is happening, showed where, he basically is on suicide watch. And I was thinking to myself, is this a cop out? Like, is this a way for him? Because he's egotistical. People with big egos like that, I was like, Maybe he's just trying to find a way to be monitored more, to be, watched more for his safety's sake. Maybe this is just a tactic. But honestly, I believe that he's genuinely in that state of mind, because when Jehovah's the one that's bringing you to court, and when he's the one that's bringing you into account, baby, you're going to go. You're going to want to leave the earth. It's worse. It's the worst thing. Like, it is a fearful thing to end up in the hands of the living God. And people play with Jehovah like his patience and his self-control, his ability to judge, and his ability to, patiently look at all the facts before he even renders a sentence, or before he even determines what he's going to do to somebody. He gives chances for the people to change, to turn around. And Sean Combs has had plenty of years, decades, to become a better person and to right his wrongs. He could have just simply been a better man to Cassie. If he was a better man to Cassie, if he changed his ways and was a better man to Cassie, this probably would have never even surfaced or happened. Cassie put the nail in his coffin. The way he treated that woman was deplorable. The way he treated that woman is, I feel so, that's a strong woman. That is a strong woman. And I almost want to cry, because I remember watching, now all these videos of Cassie is surfacing, and their interactions with each other. And you see a woman that truly was battered. It was a video where he was running up in the studio and she's covering up her face immediately, don't know what's going on. She automatically turned around and started covering up her face, because not because she's camera shy, she's a star. No, because her boyfriend hits her whenever he feels like it, for no reason at all. And Don Richard's lawsuit, because he was waiting for his eggs and she was frying them and she didn't get them to him quick enough, he threw the hot eggs in her face. He's at high corporate dinners, high power events and dinners with Usher and with Neo in the legal transcript, and he punches her in her abdomen and nobody does anything. The biggest abuse of power, such cowards. There are no men in the industry. All these men have been bent over. All these men have been pegged or, gotten by the real thing. There's no men in the industry. I don't believe, because how could you sit there and see someone punch their girlfriend in the abdomen, and then Don Richard said everybody just went along and kept on eating? And that's exactly how I would die, because I would have, only if Jehovah protected me, because I would have stood up like, excuse me. I would have been that one, like, no, this is over with. This is not normal. I would have threw a whole drink in his face. You're not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a lover of justice, and I'm a lover of humane treatment, and I'm a lover of people. So for me to have witnessed that, I look at the women at the table and the men. Nobody stood up and did anything. Nobody said anything. Man, I would have took Cassie and hit her in my home. Like, I would have said, girl, don't pack up anything. Disappear. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, what would I do if I had a friend, or if I knew, like, Cassie has to look at all these women and all these men in the industry and really, really question who is really there for me, who is my friend. Because when you're in a situation like that, a dangerous situation like that, where your life is on the line, because Kim Porter didn't make it. Cassie could have been the next one. And so, God bless, thank God, Cassie got away and was able to put this man in prison, because it is Cassie's civil lawsuit where she mentioned all that criminal activity, whereas the government took the criminal activity in the civil lawsuit and turned civil criminal, and Cassie is what nailed his coffin. That's genuinely what did it. Nobody else did it. Cassie did it. Cassie brought that man to justice, and she deserves it. She deserves all the money in the world, and the abuse, freak offs. I read that they would last for days. So you have women including your own woman, having sex with strangers for days. So basically, at days at a time, they're high on drugs, ketamine, which is what cocaine mixed with it's something else, and it's pink cocaine. It's ketamine mixed with something else. Ketamine mixed with cocaine, and the ketamine makes it pink. So basically, imagine you basically are having sex for days at a time, like a prostitute, with prostitutes, with male sex workers. And it's like round the clock. So your body's exhausted, okay? Your organs, your sexual organs, your vagina, your penis, you're exhausted, you're abused. You know what I'm saying? And then afterwards, it said that in the transcript, in reports, that after the freak offs, they would last not a day, not a night, not a freak off night. Oh, we're going to have the time of our lives. The night, no, days. That means round the clock. That means from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m., freak off, break, go to sleep, wake up, abuse the body again. Afterwards, the reports are they would have IV fluids and they would have staff to come and clean up that mess. And he did this to his own woman. Not like, oh, strangers, girls, sex workers, like, random women. He did this to his own woman. And these are how these monsters operate. They don't have any compassion. These devils don't have any compassion. They will sell their children. They will pimp out their children. They will pimp out their own household. So how am I supposed to feel about him being on suicide watch? I believe he truly is in a state of shock. I truly believe that he is in the I cannot believe my life is over shock. I can truly believe that an egomaniac and a control freak like him, to be in that type of environment, and the public basically, he's disgraced. They're looking at him like the monster that he is. And for him to not be able, his money, he realizes, my God, my money cannot do anything for me. I offered $50 million worth of a home. I offered all of these different things. I bumped it to $75 million. I couldn't buy the judge. Oh my God, this is real life. It is. It gets real. It is real life. When Jehovah enters the chat, it becomes real. There's not a person you can bribe. There's not a cop you can have act corrupt for you. There's not a unit that you can jazz up and pay to make to your liking. There's nothing you can do. You know what I'm saying? People like that, Jehovah has to show you, I am God. Don't play with me. I will make you helpless. I will reduce you to nothing. And that's exactly what Jehovah did. And this right here is very scary, because you don't know what's gonna happen. This is one of these things where it's like, I know Jehovah has a hand in this, and this right here can go very crazy and go very left. Because Epstein, they said he committed suicide. I believe Epstein was assassinated. I believe he was assassinated, in my opinion. I believe that he knew too many people, and they said, nope, he can't go to trial. Will be exposed, and they assassinated him. That's what I believe. You know what I'm saying? It's getting scary. It's like, this man might die before trial. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to get that out the way, because it's like, why should we feel sorry or feel compassion? I honestly, in my heart, felt a little bit, and that's the human in me, and that's the love in me. Like, I don't want to see nobody suffer, but what he's done to people, he deserves it. And I don't feel, if I felt any compassion, I don't want anybody to take their lives, but I want him to stick around so he can serve his time, and so that he can really pay for what he's done. You know what I'm saying? But if he were to go missing, or I would pray that he's not the case where he goes missing and he's on an island somewhere hiding out, it wouldn't happen. The government would take him. This is he couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? And I think about Russell Simmons too, because Russell Simmons went to Bali. But the thing is that they didn't have anything. They didn't have things like, the thing about it is that Diddy was so arrogant. He taped everything that he did. He gave himself away as someone that, did the crimes. Like, he literally gave the federal government evidence that they didn't have to do much to look for. They just had to sift through it. I don't think Russell, if he taped anything, I don't think Russell has, you know, tapes on top of tapes. And Russell wasn't throwing wild. I don't recall as a kid growing up hearing about Russell's wild parties or none of that. Because, and so if he escaped, he didn't have anything for them to indict him on. And if they did, it wasn't serious to the point where they would go take him from Bali. Because if Russell had the charges that Diddy had, or if they had evidence of it, it don't matter what jurisdiction he was in. They would have found a way to extract that Negro back. They would have found a way to extract him back from Bali. They would have found a way. Like, it don't matter. Certain crimes, I don't think in the U.S., certain crimes, it don't matter where you go. You are on the run or wherever you are, it don't matter where you go. Like, they're going to come get you depending on the crime. Russell wasn't indicted, or he wasn't found guilty or evidence to put him in a position where it's like Diddy. You know what I mean? Diddy was so arrogant, and he was so pompous, and he was so out there. He was so out there with his behavior. It was like, I'm God and no one can stop me. He wasn't even discreet. He wasn't even discreet. You know what I mean? And that's where, ego and satanic worship and believing in false gods, believing that a false god can save you from the real God, that's where that takes you. That's where that gets you. You know what I'm saying? Russell don't got the crimes that Diddy. Russell probably partook in a lot of things in his life, but I think at least he was smart enough to not do things the way Diddy did them, because the way Diddy did them got him where he's at. And Russell was able to go to Bali, and they left him alone in Bali. They left him right alone in Bali. But when you got racketeering, you got organizational crime going on, you got sex trafficking, Russell, I don't, the evidence again, like, no, he don't got that, looming over his head. He did things, I'm sure, like all these weirdos do. But the thing is that he was a smart weirdo, I guess. And he wasn't a weirdo to that extent. I'll say that. He wasn't a weirdo to that extent. In your face. Just like out here, just really doing the most. Having a beautiful woman and having the most beautiful women in the world. And if you're in the closet and you like men, you have men at your disposal whenever you want. Having money and having a lavish, comfortable lifestyle and having beautiful children that love you wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. But the Bible says the wicked, they can't rest without doing wrong. The wicked cannot rest without doing wrong. They're robbed of sleep. They have to do wrong. If they don't do evil, they can't go to sleep. That says a lot. Because they're just like their master. They're like little baby serpents. Devil, he's a serpent. And he has all his little children doing his works and agendas. And that's how they are. They cannot go to sleep without causing harm or damage to someone. Now he's on suicide watch. Now I don't know if they want us to feel compassionate for him. The public, isn't wanting us to feel compassionate. But I just feel like, how is the public supposed to feel? And this video wasn't even supposed to be long, but I just basically, and this is like a Tory Megan case, but on a grander scale, because the charges are way steeper and way more serious. And there's no lies or false conspiracy conspiracies going around. This is the real deal. He did these things. He did these things. They just have to convict him. It's the real deal. So let me what this prison is about. Sean Diddy Combs is on suicide watch at Brooklyn's federal jail. So he's at Brooklyn's federal jail. That's where he's at. Okay. The hip hop mogul has been denied bail twice. We know that. It remains unclear if Combs is suicidal. If he's on suicide watch, then yeah, he's suicidal. He's on suicide watch because of his shock and unclear mental state. Let me think. Okay, shock and unclear mental state. It's like his world is crashing in. It's like his world is, and he might be, and some people were talking about drug withdrawals. He might be having withdrawals as well. He might be having withdrawals. And the things that he's used to using and taking, like ketamine and, all these different pink cocaines that he's used to taking, he definitely, I'm sure, is having withdrawals. And it's like when you're in a facility, you get medical care, but they're not going to supply you with drugs. So they got to come up with a treatment plan for him that's going to give him something that's going to suffice or help him through the withdrawals. Like this is like the medical me talking. They're going to give him medicine to counteract the withdrawals. Like if he's having withdrawal symptoms like heart palpitations, or if he's sweating, or whatever the case may be, they're not going to give him, drugs to soothe that. Because if it was a federal, FDA approved drug that we all go to CVS and we go get, you know what I'm saying, they would probably wean him off of it. But because this is illegal drugs, they're going to give him medication to to treat the withdrawal symptoms. That's what they're going to do. So if he's having heart palpitations, or if he's having, they're going to give him something that's close to whatever he's taken, but legal, something that is FDA approved, that comes close to what he's taken to soothe the withdrawal symptoms, and they're going to give him medication to actually treat the withdrawal symptoms. That's the most they'll do for him. Give him something that's legal in America to take, that will, somewhat suffice. It's not, but it's somewhat going to do something for him, to kind of coincide with what he was taking illegally. And then they're going to give him medication, from my knowledge, they're going to give him medication to treat those withdrawal symptoms at the same time. So imagine the anguish that he could be in, or I know that he's in, knowing that, feeling those withdrawal symptoms. If he was taking drugs, they were like saying that they found drugs in his hotel, like right before he got arrested. So of course, you're going through shock, because you realize the living God has his hands on you. You're not even, this is not a game. This is not a secret society. This is not, a bunch of corrupt judges that's doing what you want to do. No, this is the real deal. This is federal real prison indictment, meaning people are not corrupt. People are really going to hold you accountable. So the accountability is the shock. And also, I feel like withdrawal, he might be going through withdrawal and he's not getting what he normally gets. He has to get what they give him. And in addition to that, getting what you are given, meaning you have to be told when to shower. You eat when you are allowed to eat. You don't have a lawyer, or your money can't buy you better conditions. You know what I mean? It's like it costs nothing to be a good person. It costs $0 to be a decent human being in America. But This money and this power, it makes people delusional. People think they can just do whatever they want to do. And, you know, I mean, that's what I am imagining. He cannot believe that, no, I'm not above the law. My money is not above the law. My silver, my gold, it's not going to get me out of anything. And I have to deal with these consequences. I'm here. And I don't know how many times you can ask for bail, but it's been denied twice. He's going to be in there. And the way Jehovah works too, Jehovah's the type of God, he'll make sure he doesn't commit suicide. He'll make sure. He don't control your actions. At this point, child, the God that I serve, Jehovah, if he commits to it, if he tried to do that to himself, I don't know. That's between him and Jehovah. That's between him and Jehovah. I don't know. Because Jehovah will allow people to do things. Then again, he might spare you because he has a purpose for you. And that purpose might be to bring other people to justice. It's like, you can't die because I got other people I'm lining up. You're the catalyst. You open the door. I got other people to bring in. You know what I'm saying? So it depends. That's between him and God. Because it's clear that God, the living God, has swooped down and said, baby, it's bad boy, not for life. It's over with. The legacy ruined. The money is gone. The amount of victims he's going to be paying, he's going to be on payroll his whole life. He's victimized people and took money from people. Now he's going to be on other people's payroll. He paid Cassie like what, 30 million estimated approximately. You got Don Richard with $100 million lawsuit. Another guy came out in prison, or some guy incarcerated got awarded a judgment of a couple M's as well. So you're going to be spending time in prison and spending your whole life paying these victims. So now you're on their payroll. But unlike you were missing payments and you were defrauding people. But now you can't miss payments. You got to pay these people on time. Jarrell and Ashanti, always on time. You got to pay them on time. That's not karma. That's God. That's God. Understand the difference. That's not a universe karma. No, the God who created the universe, that is God. Only God can humble somebody to this capacity. Only him. So that prison basically has a high incidence of death and suicide. So basically, it houses 1,600 inmates. So that's not a lot of people. It's a very intimate prison. So it's like, where is he at? They said that he's in confinement 23 hours a day. The warden said that he's in there 23 hours a day, gets showers 3 times a week, is what a warden was saying. 3 times a week? A week? Not a day? You go from being fresh to death, I'm going to show Vogue my home and my $1 million home and my lavish lifestyle and, all the top tier skincare products and all the top tier, all the top tier treatments and estheticians and clothing that I wear. And it's like, you're going from that to showers 3 times a week, according to the warden at the prison. He was basically saying advice for him, because he works at that prison and he regulates that prison. Stay in your cell, which is 23 hours a day. That's basically solitary confinement. That's punishment. Solitary confinement. You come out an hour a day. That's for like really high risk criminals, like bad people. When they put you in a, he's not in general population because he's at risk. And also his crimes is deplorable, but mostly because he's at risk, because he's a celebrity. And, a lot of people would love to, after they heard what he's done, it's like, yeah, you thought you was powerful, you thought you could never be in here, my G, like, yeah, we gonna show you, we gonna shank you, we gonna da da da. So he basically, is in confinement for protection. And it's like, even after confinement, he's on suicide watch. So that's how I know he really feel like that. Because it's like, you in prison 23 hours a day. You in a cell by yourself 23 hours a day. You're not with general population. You're going to be let out an hour a day. And he said the warden was like, shower 3 times a week. You don't even shower every day. And so you basically are concealed from the general population, and you still feel suicidal, according to the reports. That means mentally the walls are closing in, as they say. He's realizing this is real. This is very, very, very real. I can't get out of this. I can't. Transferring him to a New Jersey prison for what? I mean, the conditions that he put his victims through, the things that they saw Cassie go through on camera, the treatment. And she was quiet. That's the worst. That's the worst you can do, to take advantage of someone that is that you perceive as defenseless and helpless, and for you to think that they're nothing, and to treat them like they're nothing, and because they don't fight you back, they're not strong. And she was the very one that put him right where he is. It's like Cassie was his worst nightmare, and Cassie didn't mean to be his worst nightmare. He's his own nightmare, because he did it to himself. Like, how do you have the world and you just ruin it like that? But a lot of people are dumb like that. A lot of people are very egotistical and satanic, and they fumble everything they've ever worked for over ego and over false worship and this false sense of security behind money. And it's like, your riches, your money, it only goes so far. With Jehovah, it can't go nowhere, because Jehovah doesn't accept bribes. So when you really fall in the hands of him, it's like you're forced to deal with those consequences. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not just him though. This investigation is going to be the most shocking investigation and the most shocking trial of the century. This is on some OJ type level stuff. OJ died. OJ ran for Diddy to walk, I guess, because, like, the thing is that he did what OJ did to Kim Porter. That's my opinion. I believe that he definitely offed Kim Porter, just how OJ offed his wife. And it was another woman of his that put him behind bars. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, OJ ran for Diddy to walk. And now he's over there on suicide watch. And do I feel sorry for him? I felt like when I was seeing his glory days, I felt a bit sad, because I'm like, a black man, here's another black man that ruins his legacy, over what? And then I think about Cassie, and I think about Kim Porter, and I think about all of the other victims that, are not named, what they had to endure, the monstrous, heinous treatment, inhumane treatment they had to endure. Dawn in her lawsuit was saying that he would have them rehearsing for 24, 48 hours, and he wouldn't give them food. And he wouldn't give them anything to eat. And he would have chefs come and cook for him. And he would have a buffet in front of him eating. And he never offered them food. It was like torture. Like, what type of person does that? What type of person does that? These women are diddy dirty money. They're working. And you're calling them out their name. The bees and hoes and stuff like that. And if they don't do what you like, you raise up your hand to strike them, according to Don. He rose up his hand to try to hit her one time because he was mad at her. You basically don't let them rest, okay? You have them working to the point where they vomit. Dawn said she went to the hospital and she had a low white blood cell count. She had arthralgia. She had basically dehydration and all types of things related to malnourishment and dehydration. Her malnourishment and dehydration caused other subsequent, underlying disease. And even when she brought the paperwork to Sean, she said he looked at it and was like, you still got to go to rehearsal, and still wouldn't feed her. So he was starving his own artists, people he was in a group with. She said that really, really, really hurt me for her, because you have a chef, they're hungry, they're not eating, you're starving them. What do you get out of that? That's satanic. To want to see somebody suffer, that's sadism. That's a sadist. For you to have a chef and they're all in you and they cook for you, and you don't offer them anything, and you know that they're starving and they're hungry, and that they've been in 24, 48-hour rehearsals nonstop, and they're at the hospital suffering joint pain and all types of pains because they don't get rest or a proper meal. But you got a chef cooking for you all the gourmet food, and you're eating it in front of them. And then lastly, Dawn had said in her lawsuit that he would come downstairs when he would have meetings with her in his underwear. That's a form of sexual harassment. For you to have your underwear on in front of a woman, and she would ask him, put clothes on, and he would say, this is my effing house. Like, he was so entitled. He was so entitled. He was on his God vibes. And Jehovah had to show him, no, I'm God. I'm going to show you what a real God does. I'm going to put you on suicide watch. On Jah. I'm going to put you on suicide watch, bro. Jehovah said, I'm going to show you what a real God does, and I'm going to put you on suicide watch. It don't feel good. And lastly, truly, I remember on Making of the Band, and even in a lot of interviews in a lot of different places, he would say it gets dark and lonely out there. Like, he would threaten people and say, well, it gets dark and lonely. And in Don Richard's lawsuit, he would say, I can make people go missing. People can go missing. I make people go missing. It gets dark and lonely. Meaning, he can really exclude you from the industry, blackball you, shelve you. He can stop you from making money. And he can basically make you go missing. How he made Kim Porter go missing, life-wise. So now the tables have turned. It's like it's dark and lonely in that cell 23 hours a day. It's dark and lonely being in a not even a maximum security prison, but an understaffed prison. And it's a jungle. It's a jungle, understaffed, and the inmates are, at high risk for death because of the conditions, either assault or suicide. So it's like it really does get dark and lonely, and now you get to experience that. So do I feel bad for him? Not at all. Does he deserve everything he's getting? He deserves more. And how do I see this case going? I honestly, there was somebody that was doing like a report on this too, and they were like, I don't know where this is going. This is scary, because Epstein, he was powerful, and he just went missing, and they said it was a suicide. I believe it was an assassination, but it is getting scary because this is the real government. This is not like the corrupt government, like secret society. This is the real deal. This is public law. Ain't no secret. It's a public affair. It's a public law involvement, and that means people are being held accountable. Now, when you're being held accountable to that degree, people are like his co-conspirators and people that has worked with him. It's like a scary thing for them, whether they're celebrities or not. It's like, will they drag me into this? Am I on tapes? You know what I'm saying? You never get away with, being a menace. You never do. Eventually, your crimes get caught up to you. And people were like, O.J. Simpson got away. No, he didn't. After Nicole died, he went to prison for 10, 20 years for something else, but your life is ruined. Once you commit a crime and once you do bad things, you don't have a happy life, despite what they put on the internet. You know, despite what they put on the internet and despite what these criminals and what these sadists and what these deviants, what they put on the internet, they are miserable. They don't know what love is, true love is. They don't know what peace is. There is no peace for there is no peace for the wicked, says my God. That's a scripture. They have no peace. They have no love. They have no happiness in their life, truly. All they have is their money. All they can do is throw parties and get on yachts to kind of soothe the pain and to distract them from their reality that they are disgusting human beings. That's all they have, distractions. They have distractions and money is the distraction, but they don't have anything valuable. They don't have anything valuable going on or anything really to live for. They just basically, and even if they have kids, the kids isn't the reason to live. It's the power, it's the glory, it's the money. And when you living off of that, it's like you need more and more. And then you commit more crime and you do more and more to acquire more money, to acquire more glory. And then eventually you just crash. You crash out because it's like there's only so much you can do until enough is enough. So this is a lesson learned for anybody, whether you are high profile or not. Treat people with respect. Respect life. Be a good person. It costs nothing. And you'll be blessed way more than what you commit crime for, what you're getting committing crime. If you do the right thing, you'll get blessings, but you'll get it with peace. You won't have to sit in a jail cell after a run. Or you go for a run for 10, 20 years, you're happy. You got success, but you're in pain. You're living in pain while this quote unquote success is happening for you. With Jehovah, when Jah bless, he adds no pain with it. So if you do the right thing, you're gonna enjoy life and happiness and you'll have no pain. But when you go and you choose his route, Diddy's route, you're gonna basically be dealing with life in a superficial manner with no real substance, lots of pain that you hide behind drugs and alcohol and sex. And then when that party's over with and when your run is done and when the devil is done using you and when he's done using you for his agenda, he's going to move on to the next person to work his agenda, someone younger, someone that's maybe smarter to get away with crime. Satan don't care. And the last word of the day is, where is your God? Satan is the God that gives you riches and glory. That's their God. Jehovah gives riches and glory. He gave it to Solomon, and Solomon would have had it forever if Solomon was faithful. And, Solomon had peace with his glory and his riches. But Satan, when he gives you glory and riches, he adds pain with it. You go through a lot of pain. And it's like, well, if that's your God and if that's who you sold your soul to, where is your God to save you? Where is your God to get you out of this mess? It just shows you that depending on false gods, it's not worth it. It's stupid because they can't save you in the end. Your money, your gods, your false gods, your charm, your smooth talk, your power, you can't corrupt everybody. And Diddy is proof. Like, he couldn't corrupt the judge with 75 million. Two judges denied him bond. These are officers of the court that are choosing to do the right thing. That's how I know Jehovah's hand is in it, because it's going how a criminal, he's being treated like a criminal. And that means, yes, true justice is being served. So I'm happy for the victims. They can finally live in peace. They don't have to worry about him. If nothing's going to happen to them, they can finally live in peace. They can go to the beach, they can go to the park, and they can cry and they can go to therapy and heal. They can finally live in peace. The monster that destroyed their lives or tried to destroy their lives is gone. So now they can pick up the rest of their lives and live it. When you're victimized by monsters like these, you know, you do what Cassie did. You don't let nobody take your life from you. She went and got married, had children, and then put her abuser in jail and got a bag from him. And she lives comfortably. And that's how you do that. Okay? In the end, God always wins. Jehovah always wins. And in the end, you reap what you sow. Whatever a person is sowing, the scripture says, this he shall reap. And you will reap what you sow. You will reap what you sow. And he's reaping it. And I feel like the next coming months and trial, they're like saying trial could be 2027, trial could be 2028, trial could be years from now for him. So to sit in a prison for that long, waiting for trial, and the prosecution, they got more things they want to bring up. They got more people they want to, charge, co-conspirators. It's going to be a mess. Do you know how many people co-conspirated with this man? Do you know what it takes to run a racketeering business, an organizational crime business? Organizational crime is not a one-man army effort. It's an army effort. So they're going to be bringing in all types of armies, and they say they got 50 witnesses willing to testify against him. That says a lot. When you're such a menace, you got 50 witnesses already, half of 100, willing to come out to air you out, and they're safe. They're safe. They don't have to worry about no witness protection. You're in prison. They're safe. And ain't nobody finna do nothing to them, because at this point, the level of the case and the level of the crime that he's committed, if anybody were to go missing or something happened to them, they're gonna charge him with murder. So they know they're safe. They don't have to be afraid. They can come out and they can say, hey, this happened to me. This is what he did. And I was listening to where a male sex worker, they said that a male sex worker is already saying that he is willing to comply and to explain a night that he had, during the freak off. A male sex worker is willing to come out and testify. So the details of this case is going to be gruesome. It's going to be very painful to hear, because I'm a human being and I hate to see people suffer. So to hear the horrors that Cassie and others had to suffer, when they go into detail about what they were doing and how they did it, because the court, they're going to get to the nitty gritty of it. When did it start? When would it end? How long would you have to do this for? How long would your body have to be abused for before you got a break from a man being on top of you? It's a shame. It's a shame and it's a disgrace. It's a shame and it's a disgrace. But I'm so thankful to Jehovah, the God of justice. He does not sleep. And this basically, gives anybody who's ever been done wrong hope that no, they don't get away with it forever. They get caught up. You just have to be patient. Just wait. You just have to be patient, because capturing somebody like Diddy, that takes time. That takes evidence. That takes phone tapping. That takes a whole lot of investigative efforts. That takes a lot of legal investigative efforts. They got to go through each police report. They got to go through victim tests. They got to go through victims' police reports that they've made in the past. They got to sift through so much before they get what they need to actually move. It takes time to investigate. And after you investigate, that's when you get the proper evidence and then you indict. It takes time. Let these people do their jobs and be patient with Jehovah, and he will give you the justice you deserve. Trust and believe. Okay? Because if you can't see that if you can't see that there is a God by this, I don't know what to tell you. Because if it wasn't a God handling this, he could have easily just been home by now. 75 million. What judge not going to take that? Someone that's uncorrupt and someone that's being led by God himself. There are good people out there who bring people like Sean Combs to justice. There are good officials out there that will not accept a bribe and they will maintain their integrity. And God bless them. But anywho, guys, happy Friday. How I feel about him being on suicide watch, my final thoughts. I feel like I definitely do not wish for anyone to take their life. I want him to be a man the same way he was able to, you know, be powerful and drag his victims to the ground, kick them, stomp them, starve them. The same way he was able to treat people inhumanely, I want him to be able to stand in his decisions and stand in those conditions in jail like a man and take what he has dished out. Don't be a coward. Deal with it. And I don't have any compassion for him. Only thing I feel is hurt because it didn't have to go that way. You didn't have to go out like that. But you are your own worst enemy. People really are their own worst enemies. If your own worst enemy, after Satan is the chief enemy, but people really are their own worst enemies. Their greed, their thirst for power and money. Yeah. He did it to himself. Because Satan can't even force you to do anything. Because Satan, he's trying to recruit people all the time to be a part of his secret society. And, you know, it's your choice if you want to live like that. And, you know, I choose to live by God, Jehovah. He's my sovereign. That's my God. You know what I'm saying? Nobody forces you to do that or to be a part of that type of sect. He chose that. So he has to live in it. And I don't feel bad for him at all. Because if I feel bad for him, that takes away from the victims. And I just can't do that.